I am getting a super late start today. Um, we had Awana last night, and then a meeting, and then Daniel had a few things he wanted to get done, and so it just ended up being really late last night. And so I do a few things around the house real quick, and then things. So here I am now. I think yesterday we just read the 9 to 15. So I think I'm gonna do just the rereading of 1 to 15 and do some highlighting because I have highlighters and stuff and marking and stuff. So let me see where that other paper is. I'm gonna move this Bible over here. Oops. So we are looking for phrases or ideas that are repeated. Attributes. So repeated phrases. Blue. Attributes of God that are illustrated or celebrated. We'll celebrate with green. And then several points in a row, number them. I'm just going to use a pen. And then non-understood words. We'll do pink. And then the arrow of connecting thoughts. And I had already marked one connecting thought in the beginning. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. 4. So because you meet trials, this will happen. Or the testing of your faith is what is produced with the trials. So, I know yesterday, kind of as reading, said, oh look, we have a repeat. So we have, what's kind of a repeat? I don't know if it's a full repeat, but I think it's kind of a repeat. So count it all joys. Count it all joy. So I'm highlighting that in, oh. These are not highlighters. These are chalk markers. Well, that's fun. I was like, sweet, I didn't know I had highlighters. I just totally covered up my paper. Oh well, we'll underline it with chalk, I guess. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials. And then I think it's kind of the same over here with the blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trials. I mean, it's a little different, but it's basically trials and blessed and joy and stuff. So kind of funny. Okay, on list to purchase. Real highlighters. I don't even know if I have a chalkboard anymore. Anybody want a chalkboard liquid chalk marker? Sorry, totally distracted all day. I'm also going to underline, it's also chalk marker, apparently, the desperation, because we didn't know what that, well, I mean, guess what it is based on known other translations, but I'm just gonna underline it because, like, if I had heard it on its own, I probably could have guessed, but would not be 100%. So, and then I had already written the, well, I suppose I could look up the English definition and that, well, in the actual, like, dictionary. Okay. So go through and read and underline with our chalk markers. Things that are repeated, any attributes of God. So we'll have this superly memorized by the end of this. Greetings. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. I wonder if lacking is kind of a repeat. It ties it, definitely. I'm just going to underline lacking and lacking. Lacks. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass, he will pass away. For the sun rises. I need a pause. Oh, well, there was the God gives generously, so that's our green chalk marker. That's an attribute, is celebrated. God gives generously. God is generous. I don't know. I feel a little stuck, I guess. Maybe James wasn't such a great starting point. I am going to number my repeats here. So this is Count It All Joys is repeat number 1. Now I'm going to do Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trials. I forgot the under trial is also number 1, so that they go together. You know, matching games when you're a kid. And then lacking is 2. And then we'll just go on. Do not be deceived. We're going on to verse 16. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. So we're going to do that's a characteristic of God. Attribute. We're going to characteristic of God. Father, and there's no variation or shadow due to change. Non-changing. Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creature. Just making sure that this green is God. does not change. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of a man does not produce the righteousness of God. Well, then there's a therefore put away. So because therefore put away. So we're concluding therefore is you put away that because you want the righteousness. Yeah, we'll go with that. Therefore, put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. So we connected, therefore put away all filthiness and rampantness, because it is not the righteousness of God. So we did. Therefore. All right. And by we, I mean you, me. That's what I did. You could have done something different. Be doers of the word, not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. So that's a kind of repeat. It's like the beginning and end of the paragraph. Doer who acts. Doer of the world. Mark that with a star. He's too mad. If anyone thinks he is righteous and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So we did read that last bit yesterday in relation to the commentary that confuses me. So I'm not really going to look at the commentary again today. Not yet, anyway. So let's look at that again. I don't know if there were any other attributes of God. Maybe I should do that. Read it through and look for attributes of God. And then God, well, I don't know if this is, guess counts as an attribute. I mean, it is, isn't it? God is righteous, but it says the righteousness of God. So good and perfect gift from above. That's more describing the gift. Even though it's from God, it's, yeah. Sorry, this is kind of a little bit of a quiet one today. It's designed, I think, that way so that you sit and think. Really look at what you're reading. I'll read the rest of the chapter again in the different versions. See if we have anything we want to write down on our paper. And then maybe tomorrow I'll print out James 2. And we'll just continue. Oh no, tomorrow we'll do an outline maybe of James 1. Oh, it says, what does this mean? So, oh no, yeah, outline is before the interpretation. So we'll do an outline of James 1. See, I don't know if we should just do the whole book and then we'll just do James 1 first, make an outline of that, and then maybe see about moving on to interpretation or going back and doing James 2 and doing this part and make an outline. And then once we have all the outlines, maybe we'll move on to interpretation and look at that. We'll see. I'm learning as I go. So the rest of James 1 from the different translations. I was reading the ESV translation. We'll go with NIV, International. Starting with 16. Do not be deceived, my brothers. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man who looks at his face in the mirror, and after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he has heard, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself, and his religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. The New American Standard Version. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Every good thing given and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shifting shadow. In the exercise of his will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, so that we would be a kind of first fruits among his creatures. This you know, my beloved brethren. But every one must be quick to hear, and slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. Therefore, putting aside all filthiness and all remains of wickedness, in humility receive the word implanted, which is able to save your soul. But prove yourselves doers of the word, and not merely hearers, who delude themselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks at his natural face in a mirror. For once he has looked at himself and gone away, he has immediately forgotten what kind of person he was. But one who looks intently at the perfect law, the law of liberty, and abides by it, not having become a forgetful hearer, but an effectual doer, this man will be blessed in what he does. If anyone thinks himself to be religious and yet does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion is worthless. Pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father is this: to visit the orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Okay, the King James Version, the do not err, my beloved brethren. Oh, don't make a mistake. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variables, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will he begot us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul. The superfluidity of naughtiness. I'm going to say that from now on. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. If any man among you seemed to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Okay, Amplified Version. Do not be misled, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect, free, large, full gift is from above. It comes down from the Father of all, that gives light, in the shining of whom there can be no variation, rising or setting, or shadow cast by his turning, as in an eclipse. And it was of his own free will that he gave us birth as sons by his word of truth, so that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures, a sample of what he created to be consecrated to himself. Understand this, my beloved brethren. Let every man be quick to hear, a ready listener, slow to speak, slow to take offense, and to get angry. For man's anger does not promote the righteousness of God wishes and requires. So get rid of all uncleanliness and rampant outgrowth of wickedness. In a humble, gentle, modest spirit, receive and welcome the word which, implanted and rooted in your hearts, contains the power to save your souls. But be doers of the word, obey the message, and not merely listeners to it, betraying yourselves into deception by reasoning contrary to the truth. For if anyone only listens to the word without obeying it and being doers of it, he is like a man who looks carefully at his own natural face in a mirror. For he thoughtfully observes himself and then goes off and promptly forgets what he was like. But he who looks carefully into the faultless law, the law of liberty, and is faithful to it, and perseveres in looking into it, being not a heedless listener who forgets, but an active doer who obeys, he shall be blessed in his doing, his life of obedience. If anyone thinks himself to be religious, pious, observant of the external duties of his faith, and does not bridle his tongue, but dilutes his own heart, this person's religious service is worthless, futile, barren. External religious worship, religion as it is expressed in outward acts, that is pure and unblemished in the sight of God the Father, is this: to visit and help and care for the orphans and widows in their affliction and need, and to keep oneself unspotted and uncontaminated from the world. Okay, there you go. 5 versions of James 1. Tomorrow we'll maybe look at making an outline of James 1. Not sure how that will work, but that's what we'll look at.